It's that time of week again. Sunday, 6 p.m. and welcome to Steve's Place. Tonight we'll have a great guest, Toby Grotz. He was one of the founders of the original International Tesla Society in Colorado Springs. And I'd just like to remind everyone, if you like to go to our website, just click on the QR code there. Okay. And we still have our video on demand. And we'd like to maybe consider it as a gift for Christmas, for someone you'd like to give the gift of knowledge to. We have over 35 hours of packed information there. So if you click on that logo on our website, it'll bring up this page here. And on here, you can order the video on demand down below, or you can order T-shirts as well. So, and if you see a little green button, if you just like to give a donation, you can do a little donation, goes directly to us and it's really helpful at times, Okay, then we also have our YouTube channel. And the big thing about YouTube is it's a very valuable tool. We have over 1,500 videos online right now, and we cover all kinds of information. Unfortunately, a lot of these people who are on there have passed away, and as a result, you won't ever find information like this out front around the internet. And to get there, just go to our website, testatech.info, and there'll be a little yellow box on the right-hand square there, and you'll see this. And if we have a channel you can go to, or you can go to our conference directories. We have all the conferences separated up by conferences, and we also have a speaker directory, and we're still working. That's a work in progress, and we're still working on it right now. So, let's see. If there's anything else you got to do. Oh yeah, don't forget, if you like our show and everything, be sure to click our thumbs up, down below on the YouTube channel and everything. And so, without further ado, let me bring Toby to the stage here, and welcome aboard, Toby.
Hey, thanks, Steve. I'd be wearing one of those T-shirts, but it's getting down to winter right now. I got that T-shirt I wore it around town and got a few looks on that.
And well, I have a 1994 T-shirt that Bob Brown gave me, the UFO conferences and Laughlin guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Bob. He gave me that.
Yeah. And I would really encourage people to take a look at those videos you were just talking about from that conference. I streamed it online, and it was absolutely amazing conference. And the software that's used to do that is really advanced nowadays. So it was, you could see the speaker ask, and you could see somebody asking the question. And then when the speaker's talking, you've got his slides are presented. So it's a real nice package they've developed for those conferences.
Yeah, this is the first year that we've, second, we did a special 6-hour production for Malcolm the year before, last year. Then this year was the first time we ever did, this. And anyway, let me introduce you a little bit. I've known Toby since 1984. Yep. And
probably 1983. Yeah, probably late 83, I think, maybe. Yeah.
I think it was early February of 84. I think the first time I met him.
Okay. I got it. Yeah, we're at the Historical Society.
Yeah, and you put together the first conference on the of Tesla in Colorado Springs there, and that was my introduction. I didn't know anything before that. Totally ignorant, Learned a lot from you, and we had a lot of like Puharich was there, and who else?
Puharich was the source of the particle beam weapon paper that we published in that proceedings.
And we had Tom Bearden there.
Yep.
Well, he's no longer with us now. Just a lot of old timers. Hopefully, unfortunately, I don't think we had those on video.
John Bedini was there.
Yeah.
I've got audio tapes of that conference. The Bedini one is all busted up, though. It's not very good shape.
Yeah. Did you meet? I think it was Robert Buck. He come in the back there. He had a machine in the back of his station wagon, but he didn't speak.
No, I know the name, but I don't recall. I must have known him back then, but I don't remember exactly who he was.
And he had Jim Watson there. He built the
Yep.
replica for Bedini and that from
Yep.
up in Bull Creek. Yeah. But anyway, I'll just go ahead and turn it over to you, and just you can probably get started with your presentation. And you're currently up in the backwoods of Wisconsin.
Yeah, we're about 40 miles from where the Mississippi River and I-90 intersect. So we're on what we call the west coast of Wisconsin, right up against the Mississippi River. The east coast being up against the lake. So let's see. I'm gonna do a little present here, and it looks like I'll be able to share screen, and we'll get this up and running here.
Okay, there it comes.
Okay, now let me load this up a little bit better. All right, can everybody see that? I've got a full screen here. Basically, what I want to talk about is something that relates to the ether. And the title of this talk is Srinivasan's Eclipse Experiment and its implications for ether theory. So about 2010 or thereabouts, I was working with Paramahamsa Tiwari, and his friend was a guy named Srinivasan. And Srinivasan performed an experiment during a total solar eclipse in India on the 15th of January in 2010. The purpose of the experiment was to verify the principles derived in an alternative theory on the structure of the universe. So the results of the experiment and his methods will be talked about here. And we tried to replicate that experiment because we had a full total solar eclipse on April 8th of 2024. Many of you may have seen it. And we did get some results, so they were barely noticeable, but I've got some comments on that. And Srinivasan also built and demonstrated an Overunity generator based on his theories and understanding of the ancient Vedic texts of India. And so I've got diagrams, but I could not find the video. Seems to have disappeared on me. Now, one thing I'd like to point out is that I'm going to do another share screen here. You'll have to forgive me while we go down this rabbit hole. Let's see. I have lost the ability here to share screen. Where's my share screen, Steve?
It should be down below on the present.
Yeah. Here we go. Coming back online. Well, wouldn't you know it? There we go. All right, I've got it. Settings. So what I want to do here, and excuse me, folks, while we kind of stumble around with this technology, is share a slide from a presentation called Tesla's Prophecy. And we just had this up and running here before the show, and now we don't see it. So I'll just read it to you. Basically, what Tesla had said was all perceptible matter comes from a primary substance or tenuity beyond conception, filling all space, the akasha or luminiferous ether, which is acted upon by the life-giving prana or creative force, calling into existence in never-ending cycles all things in phenomenon. And that quote came from Man's Greatest Achievement, which was written in 1907, he had learned about that, the ether, from Swami Vivekananda, who was lecturing widely throughout the United States at that time. So getting back to our file here, what I want to share is a newspaper clipping from a conference that was held in India. And this was from the Indian Express on August 25th, 1987. And it was a report on the conference in Hanover, Germany, that was organized by Hans Nieper. And in that report, in that newspaper, it was described by Srinivasan that such a thing as a reactionless generator could be built. And the reason this is of interest to me is because that whole concept of reactionless generator, wherein the forces of Lenz's law are canceled, this is the first time and the first instance of the usage of that term reactionless generator. I've got books going back to the 1800s on motors and generators, and this is the only place I've ever seen that word used was here, and then Tori picked it up and he used it to describe his machine. So I'm going to stop screen right now because I want to show you a little historical document. Here we go. This is a poster from the from the Hanover Conference, and that was held in March of 1987, and that was where the concept of reactionless generator was presented. Tiwari presented his machine there, and Srinivasan was there, and that Indian Express article details that meeting. So I'm going back to the window here. I'm going to go back to my document. And Steve, I'm wondering if you can give me a heads up and let me know I'm still live here.
Yeah, you're still alive.
Okay. Just checking in, guys, because we're kind of going down a rabbit hole of technology here. And basically, these are some documents that I could probably upload to the site at some point. And they could be available somewhere along with this video. But the basic concept that Srinivasan did was to design an experiment that could detect the solar eclipse. And he did this because he wanted to focus on and demonstrate that reactions are initiated only when the balanced state of the medium of space was disturbed. So this is that ether that we're talking about, the medium of space. And that's not an accepted fact of physics, although people in our group kind of recognize that that's the primary cause of the existence of matter is the ether. Secondly, he wanted to expose the existence of a cause and effect sequence that turned passive mediums into exhibiting violent reactions, as in the case of storms, etc., and in molecular mediums. One of the factors that contributed to exhibiting a sharp increase in the level of such forces seemed to be connected with the way in which waves in the ocean acted. In a calm sea that was disturbed by a gentle breeze, small waves were created at regular intervals or distances. As the force of the wind rose, the waves come closer to each other, or the time interval decreased. At still higher levels, two waves merged into one, and so on until a large number acting as a single large roller, ending in a tsunami-like behavior. The key element in the increase of force in a medium seemed to be the simultaneous nature of action. Therefore, it was apparent to him that we were able to count smaller waves only because we could observe the time interval separating them. His experiment was aimed at detecting something that seemed contrary to the accepted description of space in physics. The need to compare with what is already known in science became a necessity. So what he did was build a device that consisted of a roofing timber, 1 inch by 1.8 inches by 36 inches. And at the end of the rod, he positioned a number of magnets. The roofing nail held those magnets, which were 4 ceramic donut magnets. So he placed that in a 500-liter flat-bottom PVC tank, and the water was adjusted to 31 inches. Now, what that did was, as you can see in this diagram, if I can see the cursor, I'm moving the cursor around the device. So it's basically a 2x2. And at the bottom of that 2x2 are some magnets holding it towards the bottom of the barrel. And that is able to swivel back and forth. And a very slight breeze will make that 2x2 move. So you can see that this background pipe here is basically represented by this circle here. And at the start of the eclipse, we see that the vertical, the 2x2 is vertical. As the eclipse ensues, you can see that the 2x2 is starting to move as the eclipse comes into line. We go down, and as it 23 minutes into the eclipse, you can see here, this is slowly moving to the right. And it keeps going, and you can see as the eclipse becomes a full eclipse, it comes right into this circle right here. The pipe is exposed, and as we get to the 120 minutes into the eclipse, now the 2x2 has rotated quite a bit of a distance away from being the vertical line. And at that point, a sudden movement took place, and you can see that it rocked back to the left and went way over at 128 minutes. It flipped way over. And then it started coming back to center. And so you can see at the end of the eclipse, it was basically at the same point where we started. Here's the white pipe here. And you can see at the start of the eclipse, I'll scroll back up at the start of the eclipse. That's where we were here. And at the end of the eclipse, it's over here. So his explanation as to why this happened is based on some ancient Vedic texts that he studied, and through that study, he decided, and I'll upload this to you, Steve, but basically, he believed that experiment proved the existence of the ether. And I'm still trying to digest it, to be truthful. It's pretty arcane Vedic explanations of the nature of the universe. But what I tried to do, a group of us got together and we decided to do it here in our area on April 8th of this year. So we had a setup in the garage, and we had a projector shining on a 2x2 with a nail stuck in the top of it. And the reason we stuck that nail in the top was that so we could see very clearly the movement of that nail across this ruled paper that's in the background. The bottom of the device was the series of magnets screwed to a ball, and that ball was attracted to a metal plate at the bottom of the barrel. and a slight wind blowing on that, or even just breathing on that 2x4, would cause that 2x4 to swing over in the barrel. Now, this was the nail at the top of the pole that was in the barrel. I used a round pole to minimize any resistance. His was square. I thought round would be better because it would be better sensitivity. That's what the pole looked like. It was about 30 inches long. And this was the pole at the start of the eclipse. So you can see the nail. There's the shadow of the nail on the paper in the back. And here's a marker, a pencil marker that showed the center of the nail at the start of the eclipse. Now, during the eclipse, the nail moved away from its original start position. There you can see it there. So we did get a movement, but we were 700 miles from the path of the eclipse. So we were on the very edge of the eclipse. Now, the interesting thing is that it never moved back. And, at first I started to think, well, there's only one thing to do, and that's go to Spain in 2026, because that's the next place that there's going to be a full eclipse, and try it out, try this experiment in Spain. So that's kind of maybe on the wish list to do. Need to round up some folks and some funding to do that. But then I started reading about changes in the Earth's core. And the magnetic field of the sun has doubled over the last 20 years, apparently. There have been movements of magma along the plates all around the Earth. The center of mass of the Earth has changed. The gravitational field has changed significantly in some places. And that's all been graphed out and charted by scientific organizations and geophysicists. So it seems to me that this possible movement here, the reason that it didn't shift back as it did during Srinivasan's experiment, is that possibly something did change in the core of the Earth during that total eclipse. And I'm going to reference a website for you all. When we get to the end of this, it's a website that I think everybody should take a look at. It's got some really great documentation as to what's going on around the Earth, not just politically, but geophysically as well. It's quite a mix of information. Now, one thing Srinivasan did during his time was invented what he called an FCM, or fuelless ceramic magnet power generator. And he basically used neodymium iron magnets in a motor and canceled the back torque in that motor. And his claim was that he put out about 700 watts from that motor. And he presented a diagram of that motor. And obviously, this is a very abbreviated diagram. Particularly in this area, it seems you're not going to drive a power transformer with an op amp directly, but perhaps he was. I'm not sure, but there really is no description for what was really going on, other than his brief explanations that he gave. And there is a video of this somewhere on the web, but I no longer can find it. His test setup, though, looked like this. So this was the driving equipment that he was using to do this. So there's actually, you can see that these are the coils on the motor or the generator. There's a lot more going on here than what he shows in the diagram. He wanted, every time you talk to him, he wanted more money than the last time. And towards the end of his life, shortly before the end of his life, he was up to $1 trillion. He wanted $1 trillion for the secret to this machine. And then he passed away, and nobody can find the machine. His son had moved to this country many years ago. He's probably close to my age, our age, Steve. He's probably in his 60s or early 70s, and was involved in Silicon Valley. A venture capitalist, a tech kind of a inventor guru, but we can't find him. We can't find the machine. So all we have is what's kind of what he leaked out over the years with no particular details. But we do want to pursue his ideas on how Vedic theory explains the ether. So that's kind of my very short and brief presentation on a lot of what we don't know about a guy named Srinivasan. And once my screen comes back over here, I want to bring you over to, let's see, I want to stop sharing and share another. See if I can share screen. Okay, I'm bringing up a website. Can you see that, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the creativesociety.com. And this is a 95-page report that I like so much that I had the printers print me a copy in color, double-sided, and that, I don't know, it cost $25 or more just to get that printed, but it basically goes through what's happening in the earth. And I'll scroll down here to some of the information, this particular chapter. It talks about why we have world ocean heating, and it talks about the increase of earthquakes around the plates, all around the earth, the tectonic plates. The earthquakes have really jumped ahead quite a bit, and the sea temperatures have really increased. There's information about the anomalous glacier melting in Antarctica and Greenland. There is information about changes in the atmosphere, changes in the gravity, and a lot of information about what's going on inside the mantle of the Earth. And basically, we've got planetary scale changes. Now, the interesting thing about this particular document is that it ties right in with the electric universe theory, guys. And our planet and our solar system seem to be going through a much greater concentration of plasma energy as described by the electric universe people. And so all the planets and the sun are picking up a lot more energy than they used to have. And so it looks like the great changes that everybody's talking about are probably related to what the electric universe guys are talking about. So that's just something I wanted people to be aware of, is that this particular website, creativesociety.com, and I think these people are very open to the message that we're trying to present about the Overunity devices and the new physics. So I'd encourage anybody watching, and you too, Steve, to see if we can connect with these people and make some videos available to them, because they have a whole section of their website on which they have some really innovative ideas being presented in video format. So that's the short and the sweet of it, Steve. I'll turn it back to you. Do you have any questions? I don't know if anybody's, if there's chats coming in, if there's any questions through chats or.
Well, there's no questions, but I think Russell Anderson had a show on earlier today, and I don't know if he's done yet, but talking about the changes in Antarctica right now. They got what they call the Doomsday Glacier, the Thwaites Glacier, which is ready to drop off the Antarctica there. And once that does, you have all this weight that's sitting on top of these of Antarctica. And once these glaciers move off the land, all that weight is released, and these land would want to rise up. And I think it's one of the causes of the Earth change as well. It has to.
This report mentions Antarctica and the fact that the glaciers are melting from underneath in Antarctica. the ice is melting from underneath. And we had talked earlier tonight about Ron Kovac, and
Yeah.
one of the guys that we met back in Ryan's day was a guy named Roy Stewart, and he was working for a company building equipment for NCAR, National Center for Atmospheric Research, and they had a ship out in the off Alaska and up in the Arctic Ocean, and they were measuring temperatures of the sea from the seabed all the way up. And the result of that research back in the mid 90s was that the ice was melting from below. And their theory was back then in the 90s that the core of the Earth was going through a temperature excursion. And so the Earth and all the disasters we're seeing is not just due to carbon emissions, reflecting all the infrared light. It's due to the fact that the core of the Earth is going through a temperature excursion, and that will cause massive changes, according to this document I was just showing you all, and that will be in the form of earthquakes and increased global warming.
And I think this might be the premise behind that 2012. Did you see that show?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were worried about the core heating up and everything.
Oh, I don't remember that part of it, but that was quite a show. Yeah.
Yeah, at the very beginning, he goes out to visit the guy in India where they had these super deep wells, and they were going down, and they was heating up down below the way down there, and that's what they were monitoring, and that's the projection was that this was going to happen. So
yeah, it's interesting how arcane science and little known science tends to creep into movies and productions like that.
So we got a couple of comments here. Here's Amakar says, so all the planets, not just Earth, are heating up then?
Yes, and in that report, there's a whole section. There's a section on each planet, and talks about what they found with the magnetic fields, the temperature measurements, the radar measurements, all the astrophysical data that we know about those planets over the last 20, 30, 40 years, how they've changed. So yeah, take a look at that report and you'll see what's going on with the other planets.
Okay, and here's another one from Reed. Toby, what's your budget to build the Puharich motor?
I don't know. Puharich had a lot of stuff, but most of his stuff was about hydrogen. I don't know that Puharich had a motor, but if he did, I'd like to know about it. Do you know about that, Steve? Did Puharich have a motor?
I don't know about a Puharich motor, but somewhere in all the stuff I have one of his old manuscripts that was never published on a water engine. So
yeah, he was really big on hydrogen and water technologies. Maybe the Puharich, maybe he's talking about the Tewari motor or the Srinivasan motor. Maybe the commenter can. Reed, that says Reed Hewish. Reed, I see your comment. What do you know about the Puharich motor, or did you mean the Tewari motor?
He said yes.
Type.
So he's got yes. And
the
motor you referenced.
Most of these motors could be built, replicated, for somewhere between $200,000 to $1 million, and that's the ones that we know work. You get a Sparky Suite device, and nobody's ever been able to replicate it. Oh, where the motor wanted 1 trillion. Yeah, we don't know enough about the motor. I have a friend from India who now works at as a design engineer for a solar system manufacturer, and he knew and had talked to Srinivasan, and he has tried to go back and find that information about the motor. We would have to find Srinivasan's son, California, which we have not been able to do, and we would have to go to India to track it down. Before we even had a budget, we have to know what was in it, and we're kind of working on that. There is an individual in Texas that knows quite a bit about his work and would be a good speaker for the next conference. and I'll have to track him down again, Dan, and get that information to you. I mean, Steve. I was just trying to talk to him earlier today.
What I'm doing right now
Yeah.
is if anybody wants to join us, this is what our hotline would be. But
oh, that's cool. Yeah, let's see if anybody's listening and wants to get on that. Somebody try that out. Let's get more familiar with the StreamYard. I was having a hard time getting used to it. I'm starting to pick it up now.
Yeah, we got so much stuff going on these days. I mean, really a thing. Okay. Here's a thing from Reed. Toby, we'll stick with duplicate T. Henry Moore and Sparky Suite devices first. Okay.
Well, I knew Sparky. I visited him a couple times, and Walt Rosenthal knew him and had measured his equipment. And after Sparky died, Walt, myself, and the funders and the guy that supplied all his equipment and magnets, we sat there for 3 days and tried to figure it out. And nobody, and other people have since too, and nobody's figured it out. So, that's a question is, did it only work when the inventor was there? Like the Keeley device, it only worked when the inventor was there. And, there's some other the Hutchison effect. Try duplicating that. It works when the inventor's there. There was the kid in Canada that could make things work, and it only worked when he was doing it.
Here you go. According to Andrew Mashrovsky, Praharic had a motorhome that ran on water. So.
Yeah, Andrew Microwski is going to be presenting in a week or two at with the USPA lecture series. Okay, Reed met that kid, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Is he still around, Reed?
So that's the problem. There's so many of these people aren't around anymore.
I had a videotape, a VHS videotape of that, because he sat around with the guy that wrote Secret Life of Plants and a bunch of other investigators, physicists, and journalists, and demonstrated all this stuff.
Well, I know, like there was a guy up in I think it was from Canada, and he had like a bunch of clothes hangers that hooked together, and it didn't sound like that would work. But now, after 30 or 40 years, I said this that might be worth a try again.
Yeah.
Understanding how physics is done. But the video's up there. It'd be one of the global science conferences. I just can't remember the guy's name. And here's Reed. That was about 20 years ago.
Oh, degenerative condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe so. Let's see. Since we're talking to Reed, the doctor, what's his name? That's out of the picture now, I guess. Steve Greer was promoting that work down there. That cube that put out supposedly free energy.
Down in Texas?
No, down in Phoenix. Reed knew the guy. What's his name? Doc. He'd been a medical doctor, and then he invented a free energy machine. And Stephen Greer in his last video was promoting the guy, but I think Reed's final word on that was it was kind of a fraud. Didn't work.
Well, there's a lot of strange things out there now, and I had a guy come in. Here you go, Reed. There's much more to that story. I don't want to go into it now.
Okay, Lee. Good
But,
enough.
but I helped build a machine, and we were getting 3 amps in, 30 amps out. When we assume a 12 volt across the board there as a motor generator with a little alternator and a 3 amp permanent motor. Should never have worked, but it did for 3 weeks, And then we're trying to figure out the 3 weeks out, and they come and convince them to go work with them, these people from Canada. And then they couldn't work with me. That was part of the conditions there, And anyway, so I believe in this stuff. He told me later that they built bigger ones, but they kept running across the 3 week problem. Instead of addressing what the 3 weeks is about, they turn around and just try to say the guy's a fraud.
Right. That's right. Yeah, okay. There's a lot going on in the universe that some of these machines could be connected to that we just don't understand.
Okay, here's Reed. Again, I've met many scientists doing amazing things, but don't know how to properly test their devices. And
that's true.
That is true, but with the one I was working on, it's all about torque, because when it started, we had a dead battery, and you couldn't even turn the alternator, and I spun it, just to rub salt over there. But he gets in there, he starts moving away these wires, kind of goes in, and he hits some frequency, and next thing you know, this thing's taken off. It was almost like the alternator was pulling the motor along. It was a code to touch, until it died. When it went to dying, all of a sudden it got super hot really fast. So here I'm not so reliant on the measurement as much as I was the torque, because you can't fake a torque. It's either going to move or it's not.
Yeah, I'll give you a good example of it only works in the presence of the inventor. Was the Hendershot machine that Ed Skilling, who was an electrical engineer, I think he worked for Boeing or worked for an aerospace company, California. I forget which one. But he went to Hendershot. It's got 2 basket weave coils. It's got some magnets, and then it's got the light bulb. And Hendershot gets it working. It's a 100-watt light bulb. And, of course, there's no input, so it's all mounted on a piece of plywood. And so Ed Skilling takes it home. When he gets home, he tries to make it work, and he couldn't get it to work. So he takes it back to Hendershot. Hendershot diddles around with it and gets it to work again. Ed takes it home, and it doesn't work. Well, Ed told me that, basically it was a case of the machine only worked in the presence of the inventor.
That could be. And here's Reed again. There needs to be a skunk works where scientists can work together, share ideas, and help each other achieve a working device.
I agree. And if we'd stop throwing money all around the world and at billions and billions of dollars, we could put together such an effort.
Yeah, well,
the Tawari device is about between a $200,000 to $500,000 replication for a synchronous AC machine that will put out 2.5 to 3 times more than the energy put into it. Could be made to be self-running, but nobody wants to fund it.
Yeah, I don't see. Well, I wish I lived out in the middle of nowhere, and then I can just invite people over to camp out, if nothing else. It's just a lot of expenses. Like I have so much available, I just don't have no place to work. I live in like a small 2-bedroom apartment, and one bedroom's my office and the other one's to live in, and so it really cramps your style.
Yeah.
And there's so many ideas I have that I'd love to work on, but I just can't because I don't have the money and I don't have the place to do it.
Now, you had a guy on a couple of weeks ago. He had those cone-shaped rotors. So it was like a 4-axis machine with cones, rotary cones.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. And my brain's gone blank.
But he looked
Michael Lee.
Yes, he looked like he had some really good machine work being done and a really good workshop, and he looked like he was making great headway.
Yeah. Anyway, here's Reed saying the Twari does, he could budget $500K.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you had a full machine shop, 3D printers, electronic shop, make facility, it would be lower to $500K or much less.
It could.
One of the things that
my background is building stuff and estimating costs on what it takes to build something. But there's when you're building something that you know how to build versus something that's never been built before, there's some fudge factor in there. So, but yes.
Well, these 3D printers,
we can figure out how long it's going to take to do it and try it. But the whole problem is that, finding the people, the funders to do that. And, in case of the Tuari machine, the children of Tuari have threatened to sue anybody that tries to replicate it or sue anybody that funds it, even though all the information is available online. It's an abandoned patent application. All the information's out there. It's public knowledge.
Yeah, so we also want would be archives,
Mm-hmm.
With both print and digitized material.
Yeah.
But the 3D printers, that's a game changer, because you can 3D print stuff in plastic now. And once you got to perfect it, take it down and have a 3D print in metal, because they have these foundries now. And you take your prints down there and they'll print it out in any kind of metal you want,
A friend of mine's got a 3D printer that's about a meter by meter by meter. So it's a meter cube, and it's printing a metallic print. The ink is a metallic print, and that stuff is hard as a rock. And he's gone so far, as to print round objects, basically rotors, not rotors, but stators using that machine.
Yeah, here you go. A new guy, William Schwant. Really, I'm a bit okay. He starts off with I've been doing some stuff with coal magnets, but he's a bit disenfranchised. He says turn it inside out, put some twist line, and they can do anything. So then Reed is saying, Toby and Steve, the full Skunk Works funds are coming. Soon I'll fund all of these. Well,
go for it, Reed. I'm here. I'm with you. Let us know.
Yeah, well, I'm hopefully thinking, but
But we're really getting up there.
It's got to come pretty fast, because
if we're going to see it, it's got to come fast. But we're trying to get the younger generation involved and hand it off to them.
Yeah. I like to, like I said, I like to be able to move in the middle of nowhere and set up shop, because things will be cheaper that way, and you have privacy. Well, you can just do anything you want without the neighbors complaining.
Yep.
And,
well, that's kind of we're in Wisconsin, and there's a lot of places like that. I live in a county that it takes an hour to drive from the Mississippi River to the east end of the county. That's a big county, and there's only 30,000 people living in it.
But where you're at, it gets cold.
It does get cold, but that keeps the tourists and keeps the skunks at bay. Think about the Skunk Works.
Well, where I'm looking at, it's pretty close to Vegas, but it gets hot.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't matter. It either rains too much or it doesn't rain enough, or it's too hot or it's too cold. You just need a big building with proper heating and cooling.
Yeah, and high enough off the ground where you don't have to worry about flood water getting in.
Right.
But these days you got Earth change is coming. We have a lot of videos online there on the Global Science Series. Oh, I can't remember those names, but
Oh yeah, the I Am America map. Remember those people used to rent at Global Science?
yeah, they have all kinds of map people up there.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Gordon Michael Scallion.
yeah, he's up there. I have him a couple of times. Maybe I should go watch him and see how they compare to what's happening today.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that this recent report, that website I was mentioning, that really points out that we are going to get some big changes like those people were talking about. And like Edgar Casey was talking about.
Yeah.
William needs custom shaped magnets. AZ Magnets down in Arkansas, look them up. They usually will quote you a pretty good price.
Is he still around?
No, he passed me a long time ago, but his kids and family are running AZ Magnets in Arkansas, northern Arkansas. Yep. He had that Magnets magazine, and he was promoting all this work, and he had conferences. He was quite a guy.
I remember that.
Les Adam. His name was Les Adam.
Yeah, glossy magazine.
Yeah, glossy magazine, Magnets magazine. I wish somebody put all those online.
There you go. I'm all the time from Super Magnet, man, but custom stuff is very expensive.
Well, check out that AZ Magnet people and tell them Les Adams sent you. he's the founder.
Yeah.
You're talking. He's on the other side, and he was talking to you.
Yeah. Need to get into seances here, start bringing these people back.
Right.
Okay. There goes. I'll check them out. Haven't heard of them before. Thanks. Okay. Who here is interested in seeing a twin Tesla turbine?
Get a hold of Jeff Hayes, right?
Yeah, he's probably watching. But we've had a lot of stuff,
Yeah. And that turbine work was done in, that was done in Milwaukee, I think.
Okay, he goes, I have one right here. So this would be the twin Tesla turbine.
What is a twin Tesla turbine?
Where's here?
Yeah, where's here? Can we come visit? Is it warm there or cold there?
In my hand. Show us the turbine. Okay. And
get on that HTTP. That hotline.
Yeah, get in there. Just
pull up that hotline. Somebody pull that up. Let's see if that works.
Okay, he's saying Spokane, not far from Jeremiah.
Okay.
That'd be Jeremiah Fawanda, yeah. Going in front. Got a video up. We need twin Tesla receipts. So,
what does that mean? Twin Tesla receipts.
I don't know. Proof.
I'm not following that. William, please clarify. Can somebody call that?
Got someone. Here's Reed.
All right.
I don't like typing. I mean, it's much easier just to talk. So I'm not a big typer. Great. I'm not a millennial that just could type 1,000.
Yeah. Type 90 words a minute with 2 thumbs.
Yeah, no, crazy. Toby, let me ask you a question. How old are you, brother?
Old enough to know better, but that put me about 74.
Oh, well, you're still young enough. We'll get you to that med bed, and we'll get you back to about 35. I'm 53, almost 54 tomorrow. So,
oh, yep,
we're getting way too old for this crap. It's time to get some devices out there and start manufacturing, get them out to the public. That's just I mean, Steve, we got to get you known to the world about all the stuff you're doing.
Hey, this is cool.
Okay, now we got Savage.
Yes, sir.
He's the one with the twin turbine.
Oh, is that 3D print?
It is a 3D print.
My goodness. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's actually completely modular too. I've been working with Jeremiah. He's been helping me with the design here. I'm not going to go all into the internals. Most of you know what's in a Tesla turbine to begin with, but
yeah,
we have the inlet here, which also acts as a clamp. I can just pull it off. There's the inlet, and then outlet down there. So you can choose which side you want to have the plug in, you know, depending on how you want to have it. But I hooked this up to my shop vac today, and it gets less than 5 psi, but this thing cooks. And I mean, it goes fast. It all clamps together and is a nice tight little unit like that.
So what do you do? Is one as a generator and one as a pump, or what?
Well, it depends what you want to do. If you blow the air in to the inlet, then it spins really fast. If you turn it so that it comes out the inlet, then it's got a decent breeze.
Steve, I think you got your next show here.
Yeah, you should come on the show.
Well, I should leave that up to Jeremiah. He's the real brains behind everything. I just figured if everybody was on, I might as well just say, hey, he's working on stuff and it's cool, and I'm working on stuff and it's cool.
Didn't Jeremiah run his at 35,000 RPM and it just blew up his device a couple of days ago? His crude prototype?
I don't know about a couple of days ago, but he's got a fully working prototype, and it is goddamn amazing. I think he got about 8 kilowatts out of it on his most recent test, and it's not breaking. That thing is not going to break.
Well, yeah, he built one out of a different material that he tried to do an amazing speed test to see what it could go up to. I think he posted that on YouTube just 1 or 2 days ago.
That one, I think he used cardboard and epoxied the cardboard, so it was really rigid and stiff. It can only handle so much G-forces before it goes. You know, if you're working with carbon fiber, I think that's what he says is the sweet stuff to use. That or steel, you know.
I am impressed.
Yeah, I mean, every time I get to go over to his place, it's like a kid in a candy shop. It's amazing. He's got so much cool stuff there.
I got to go back to school and learn how to use this 3D printer stuff, you know?
It takes a minute. I started playing with Tinkercad not more than 6 months ago. And this thing's been through a lot of iterations. I have the old case here. Yeah, this is the older one. It's a lot more flimsy. So because the way the plastic is very not as strong as you would hope. You have to make the dimensions a lot thicker than you normally imagine you need to. But this one's a lot less modular. That one's completely modular, and it goes together and comes apart so easy. It's so easy to manage, because before what I was doing is I basically had a set of plates. So one set of plates would be the exhaust, one set of plates would be the housing, and then an exhaust on the other side, and then bolts would be lined up and going all the way through and tightening and clamping it all together. And that thing was just a beast to try and put together and take apart if I had to make any kind of adjustments. But this baby here, it just pulls apart. It's nice and easy to service.
How long does it take to print all the parts for it?
So the end caps are each about 2 days. The main housing is about 2 days. These clamped exhausts and inlets are about 20 hours each. And then the discs, it's like 4 discs every 4 to 5 hours, I want to say. And there's 38 discs in here. So,
yeah.
Is that your 3D printer behind you?
It's actually below me.
Regular printer.
Down here. I don't know if you can see. down there. It's working on the next thing. Yeah, I've got a single barrel design that I'm working on. You see the inlet there, the the nozzle kind of tapers down this way. I'm looking at the screen, and my screen is backwards to how I'm doing things. But yeah, the nozzle tapers down here and then goes, pushes the air into a circle or whatever it is. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a engineerologist. I'm just a dumbass with a 3D printer.
That's what we need.
Right?
That's what we need, Reed. I think we got some guys. We got to, get that skunk works going. We know who we're going to hire.
I know I was talking to GE, and they make some real high-end 3D printers that you can print carbon fiber, high-end metal 3D printers, and these are about $1 or $2 million each. They're designed for printing rocket components, and you can print up, let's say, a rocket nozzle within a matter of 60 seconds. They print at extreme speed. They're designed for fabrication, high-speed fabrication.
Well, I do need a job, so if somebody's offering,
they're not cheap, but they're worth it. So,
yeah. So I went to an avionics show here in Vegas, and a couple years ago, and they have like foundries, So you prototype them on plastic, and then you send them to the foundry to get it done in metal for production. And they produce just about anything these days. And they're getting ready to print human parts even.
Yeah, I would really
like the organs.
Yeah,
we're probably all going to need a few of those pretty soon.
Yeah. I just wanted to show you something I have here.
Ooh, oh, a square, yeah.
Yeah, so I learned drafting with this, and then eventually I started doing CAD work, mostly electrical, but I've done a little mechanical, but it's all 2D stuff. So I'd really love to get into doing some 3D work and some 3D printer stuff. And
I tell you what, just go to tinkercad.com, and they have an entire tutorial that walks you through how to use all of the tools.
Tinkercad.com. I'm writing it down.
Okay. Tinkercad, tinkercad.com.
Uh-huh. All right.
And it has a tutorial, walks you right through how to do everything, and you'll screw up and you'll have some really wonky stuff, and it'll come out all weird, but eventually you'll kind of get the hang of it, and it'll start flowing a lot easier. And then I think it's like a simplified version of Autodesk. And so if you can then get a free version of Autodesk, I think the controls and a lot of the tools translate over, so you can move up to there. I'm not at that point yet. I'm still screwing around with Tinkercad, so.
Okay, yeah, I've run AutoCAD like software before. I actually have used AutoCAD before. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I just screwed around with Tinkercad, and there's a couple things here stolen off of like these pulleys, so they can counter rotate there. I took those off of a design, and I think the actual disc design I took from somebody's attempt at a Tesla turbine. And I tried using their design. It did not work very well, but finally got to the
what's the end usage going to be, or what's the end application, or are you just playing?
I don't know. You see, I've kind of taken this as far as I think I can go with the materials and the design wise. So I've been talking with Jeremiah, and this is kind of going to be like a little handoff, and then I'm going to do supporting stuff like printing other parts as needed, but he's going to kind of get down, do the really nitty gritty testing, and figure out what needs to be done to really refine the design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, Steve, there's a speaker for your next conference too.
Yeah.
In the mix.
Well, just send us an abstract. I'm going to remind everyone, we do have a call for papers out, and I sent the information out, and every week when I send out notices about Steve's place. So, but I think right now people are too involved with this upcoming election. Once that gets out of the way, people know what the future holds and can get back to work, Yeah.
I sure would like to.
I mean, now everything's saturated. It's either Ukraine or the election, and that's everything.
Everybody's very distracted, and you're in the process of figuring out where your next conference is going to be too, and when it's going to be.
Well, I know it's going to be August 6th, the 10th, and it's going to be in Albuquerque.
Okay, August 6th to 10.
Yeah, and probably at the same place. I just got to get their some concessions out of these people, because they want to jack the price up on me, and I just don't want to get it jacked up without getting something in return, And I don't even know what, right now, the outlook for economics is so uncertain. We're in an economy, but there's a lot of people who aren't working, and unfortunately, those are the people that come to our conference,
Yeah, when it comes to economics, our local community radio station just interviewed Richard Wolff, professor emeritus, University of Massachusetts, 83 years old, spent 10 years getting his education at Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, studied business, economics, and finance, went to the same classes as Yale, as Janet Yellen did, and she's 78, running the Department of Treasury, and Richard Wolff says she knows but won't tell you that this is an empire in decline. The banks are going to fail, and the country's going to break up into separate regions. So that's the good news. Now,
Well, I'll leave the politics up to you guys. I posted a little link to a Instagram video that I made of the thing spinning up. But I got to run and go do my side job. But nice to talk to all of you. Have a great night.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
So, I'm looking at this, like if they're looking at $120 a night for a room, and that's, I guess according to some of the guys, that's reasonable, but I just got to think a little bit longer on that because I might be able to get that reduced a little bit. Might even have it at an Indian casino down south of Albuquerque. There's a place called Isleta. That looks like a beautiful place. And the positive thing about that, there's all this food joints inside of it,
Yeah.
So,
that would be cool.
Yeah, you never starve inside of a casino. Speaking of that, Veterans Day is coming up for all you vets out there. If you live in the Vegas area, it's trick or treat for vets on November 11th. And anywhere you go in town, just about you get a free meal, And I generally start at 5 a.m. with Denny's and work my way and end up at Olive Gardens at like 8 o'clock at night.
Steve, are you based out of Vegas or Henderson?
Henderson's right next to Vegas. I just call it all Vegas.
Okay.
Henderson's the largest city in Nevada.
Right. Right. But you're based out of Vegas, Henderson Metro.
Yeah, because they call it Vegas. Vegas is really small. And on the strip, that's in the county anyway, And then Henderson kind of wraps it way around the southern border there from east to west, And
if you're based out of Vegas, the reason to go to Albuquerque for the conference is why? That's quite a drive from Vegas to.
Well, for when it's like 90 degrees that time of year, 89 degrees is supposed to be the average temperature there. Vegas is like 120. So.
Well, I know that in Phoenix quite well, but in a casino, you're chilling at 65, 70.
Well, the problem with the casinos in Vegas is they're heavily unionized and everything, and this town has really changed. They tore down 4 casinos, major casinos, with probably about at least 1,200 rooms, just to keep the rooms right up to over $200 a night, and they built this the Raiders arena here, and now they're bringing in a pro baseball team, and they have a pro hockey team. All these pro sports have really jacked up the rate, the cost of living here, and there's got all these Airbnbs now, which between Airbnbs and the corporations buying all these houses here, That's why you have so many people homeless, because they can't afford it, and this room's just not available, And I mean, they jacked my cost up another $100 here where I'm living, and they're tearing out the grass, and replaced with rocks, which is,
so the reason for Albuquerque is about half the cost of Vegas.
Half the cost, and you're never a hero in your hometown.
And 30 degrees cooler.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good. Albuquerque is accessible from 4 directions on the interstate. Yeah, I-25 and I-40 crossroads, and we're right at the crossroads. You got an international airport.
It's a short drive from the airport to the hotel.
Yeah,
and you got Amtrak going right through there. From L.A. to Chicago. And then you got Greyhound. And you got Alien Central there. I mean, just a short hop to Roswell.
Alien Central.
So what more would you want? It's a good spot, and it's a mile high.
Well, New Mexico is the birthplace of nuclear energy, so nuclear weapons. Los Alamos and many other energy laboratories based out of New Mexico.
Yeah, and you got what, Los Alamos, up to the north. You got Kirkland there, I mean, Kirkland has some really fantastic. I got to see the airborne laser back in 1984. The Air Force took our senior class down there, and we put us up for a weekend and took us on a tour and showed us all this neat stuff. They had a super laser there that could blast a hole, I don't know, about that big or more, through about 18 inches worth of aluminum, that fast, I mean, it was just so fast. And that was 1984. And then they had the super cray down there. I mean, they're so far advanced on this stuff. I believe they probably have an anti-gravity craft already. I think they've had it since, I don't know, when we pulled out of the space shuttle program. I think that's why they pulled out of the space shuttle program, because they didn't like sharing information with civilians, and so they got out completely, and then they haven't really heard anything, except when I was a senior, they gave me all these posters to hand out, and I started handing them out, and they come back a month later and say, "Hey, what did you do with those posters?" I said, "Well, I handed them out." I said, "Oh, those are classified," and they were a picture of the aurora. And that was back in '84. So you can imagine what we got now.
This guy Ben Rich, which was head of the Skunk Works at Lockheed, and so a friend of mine put together a short video on that, and I guess he had cancer, and he was, he knew he was going to go, so he lectured to students at Berkeley, did a couple of lectures, and one of the comments in his lectures was, if you've seen the movie Star Wars, and if you're a fan of Star Trek, anything you've seen there, we've been there, done that.
And just now you're starting to see teleportation of photons make it into the public, So don't tell what they.
But then he said, that the aerospace companies have this stuff under lock and key, and it would take an act of God to make this stuff available to the public. So that's where you come in, Reed. And what's your time frame on that funding?
Well, the basic philosophy that I've heard is you have the white hats and you have the black hats. Black hats are based around the DoD and the CIA. If you become an employee of the CIA, you're not going to get access to this technology. But if you get into the CIA printing their own money, their own whatever they want, their own deep projects that they're funding themselves, including what is it called? Alien reverse engineering vehicles. So most of the vehicles that are seen that look like they're UFOs are simply reverse engineered and human flown. And to get to that, to get the budgets for that, is I'm looking at $100 million plus to have a proper skunk work set up. that can be done without restrictions, without people having to say, well, go here, go there, and restrictions on the politicians. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but it's all driven by politics. It's all driven by taxes. It's all driven by what is driving those companies.
A lot of it's driven by money, but I know within the government you have factions, and I know that at one time I was attacked with an electromagnetic weapon because a friend of mine walked by my table and this Gauss meter was pegged, okay, to set off the alarm. And so I knew I was being attacked, and I got sick that week, and I couldn't even think straight for about 6 months there. I couldn't even get in front of a screen of that. And that's why I put together this book on mind control, and I put together a book on non-lethal weapons just to make sure I wasn't going crazy. So and then I got approached, and they said, just keep doing what you're doing. We got your back, and now when I get stopped or anything, once they get my social security number and they pull it up, they get real weird, and can't get rid of me fast enough. So I don't know what's in my file, and I do know I have one though. I used to have a top secret cleared for nuclear when I was in the Army, and that top secret, it hangs with you. They just update every now and then if you have a job that needs it. Like when I worked as a security guard, they used that, and they had it updated so I could handle. I was guarding it was NORAD at the time, So,
one thing I've come to the conclusion in the last couple of months is that there are two groups of physicists. There are the physicists that in academia that believe in the Big Bang theory and dark matter and dark energy. And then there are the physicists that work for DOD and these black ops that are reverse engineering spacecraft. And they understand that there's a different physics than what's being taught in universities. And the two groups of physicists are not allowed to talk to each other. Well, the established academic physicists don't even know that there's this other group of physicists, but there has to be a group of physicists that understands how the universe works, that understand how to manipulate space-time and gravity, and they don't get to talk to the rest of us.
And then all physics is based on boundary conditions too. So what may be good under certain conditions may not be good under other conditions, But they don't really emphasize that in school, They want to teach everything as a fact, but it's a fact for certain conditions.
Yep.
Well, some of us come from different perspectives. We all believe, at least people that are tuning into Steve's Place, believe that there is some extraordinary energy available. 0-point energy, the ether, quantum energy, dark energy, however you want to call it. It's just different paint jobs to call the same thing, which is there's an extraordinary energy source to tap into. Now, if these other beings, aliens, are coming to us, if there was a Roswell and we reverse engineered those vehicles, then there's no doubt that there was some type of energy source you're tapping into, be it coming from the sun and the solar winds or some other source. So we all believe that this extraordinary energy source is available. I like the term that Tesla came up with, radiant energy, because it says coming from the sun, solar winds, recharging the earth as the receiver of it and the other planets. But the whole thing is getting access to the capital. And it's this year, Toby, you asked for a time frame. We're shooting for this year to have access and start the skunk works. They start acquiring the building and the facilities, access to the capital, and start because I don't know, but I'm getting too old for this stuff, and it's getting too old for just talking about. I don't want to have to prove there's such a thing as 0-point energy, or the ether, or quantum energy, or radiant energy. I want to see a device that does it.
Right.
60, 70 years ago, solar was magic. There was no such thing as a photovoltaic solar panel. This was crazy. If you showed it to someone 200 years ago, that would have been impossible. It's a work of magicians to collect energy from the sun and produce energy to run a motor or a light bulb. But now we understand how it works. There'll become a day, one day in the future, we hope very soon, where people can explain it as the ether, 0-point energy, radiant energy. But right now, I want to see the product. I want to get a product out there that can help and benefit humanity. And that's what we need. Let the product show itself and then come up with the science and the philosophy behind it. Let the universities, they want grant money. They want to do, professors do these research and understand on how all this works. They can spend 30 years figuring that all out. Just get me a product. And that's what we all want. We need a product to change our mindset, an abundant energy source.
Amen, gentlemen.
Well, I think that's because, like, a professor's emphasis is on trying to understand the phenomenon, whereas an inventor, he's just tinkering, you know, and a lot of times he doesn't really understand what he's doing, except it sounds like a good idea. And physics hasn't changed. I mean, you know, our world has been the same. It's our understanding of it that is
Amen.
changing.
We're not creating energy. We're just tapping into, with photovoltaic panels, we're simply collecting sunlight. We're simply collecting radiant energy, 0-point energy. We're simply collecting a different energy source. It's very simple to us. And but that understanding will come out there too.
Even the new panels are totally, they're starting to come out with are totally different because they can collect energy 24 hours a day now. Okay.
Well, some of that's heat. I've seen panels that were released there in the laboratory right now that are collecting infrared energy now. They're extreme efficiencies up to 35, 40%. Of course, that's in the laboratory, but it's not in commercial production yet. But
wow, yeah, that's
amazing work.
Mm-hmm.
I
came up with the concept for the Earl Koenig mirror image symmetry, coil winding, and basically the back torque reduction, elimination, canceling lenses law. When you do that, you create an ether tap. So you're able to tap that radiant energy. But that's my nickname for this stuff. It's an ether tap. The energy's there. Once you cancel the back torque, boom, you're in. You're in. You just tapped it.
I like that. The ether tap. Yeah.
It's an ether tap.
Yeah. I'm going to write that one down. You better not copyright that one.
I'll let you copyright it. Make a machine. You know.
You got to get my sarcasm, Toby. We've talked many times to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm gonna call this a night though because it is getting kind of late. And thank you for being on here, Reed, and thank you, Toby, for getting. I went to do this again, and
yeah, and thanks to the Tesla turbine guy. That was a gift and a half right there.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So we expect to hear more from you, Reed, when you get together and want to do the skunkworks thing. You know?
Yeah, and Toby, have you seen the videos of Jeremiah Forwerda? I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
No, I do not. Have not.
Oh, really? Okay. He's before you go, Steve. You might want to bring Jeremiah online. Let me see if I can find it.
He's been on my show.
He's been on your show. Okay.
He's been at the conference.
Right. Yeah. What am I thinking? Exactly.
Yeah. So.
So is he on YouTube on your?
Yeah. Yeah, he's on one of Steve's place in that.
What, Jeremiah? How do you spell his last name?
Let me see if I can do this in a chat here.
Ferwada, F-E.
Okay, I sent it to you in the chat. It's in StreamYard. You see that?
No, I don't see it.
It's in the StreamYard chat. Is it a private chat or I've never done StreamYard before?
Oh, you're on a private chat.
That's his YouTube. That's his YouTube link, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
I got a hide chat button, but I don't see the chat.
If you look on the side, you have like comments, banners, brand, and private chat.
Oh, private chat and comments. Oh boy, we got a lot of comments. Okay.
And private chat is just for the people on stage, and comments is for the world.
Okay. Connected.
I guess I was a speaker, so I can't see that.
You should be able to see private chat because you're on the stage. But it should be off.
Show chat. Hide chat. I can hide chat and show chat. But I don't see the chat.
I can't put in the public comments. Man, it's not. Let me. No. I'll email it to you, Toby.
So yeah, why don't you guys email a link to, or appreciate if you email a link to
the. Yeah, let me send it to you right now.
I'm gonna put in the regular comments if you don't mind.
What's that in the regular comments? Oh, the YouTube?
On the show.
I gotta go back to because I can't do YouTube and StreamYard at the same time. They conflict. There's like a half-second delay, so the audio feedback. Let me see if I can do it without. I'll do it. Turn off the audio and go back here. Let me go back to Steve's place.
There, it's up there now.
I got it, Reed. Thank you.
Oh, you got it? Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Well, that's just one problem on LinkedIn. I don't think LinkedIn gets to see the comments, but Facebook and YouTube does. Yeah. But yeah, if you ever get around to doing that, I know a great place to do this, which is easily accessible from California, Nevada, and Arizona, and the land is cheap. The housing's cheap. But I think ain't too many people live there. My kind of place.
Hey, Steve, as a final comment on getting people to the conference, what's the limiting factor? If the locations is independent, it's a matter of the cost. If you got a corporate sponsor to provide the facility at zero cost, is it the travel to go there?
The limiting factor is always money, because it costs money to advertise it,
right.
Because I always do a written program, and a lot of the people you're trying to reach don't have internet. They don't want internet, and you have to reach them by mailing them, good old U.S. mail. And so, depending on how much money you have, depends on how soon I can print the programs and then get them in mail. It costs me more to mail than it does to print. I could print 20,000, 15,000 now, programs for $2,500. Less than $2,500. That's the tax. But to mail them, I can mail out 6,000 for about $5,000. Okay.
Wow.
So
yeah.
So that's like a $10,000 nut I got to crack from day one, and that's not even counting the people coming to the conference and that, as far as like the rooms and that go.
But what's the main cost to prevent people from going to see the Tesla?
A lot of people, it's airfare, travel. I think travel costs kind
of. People have different reasons, and some is a time factor,
And most of your patrons, Steve, are they throughout the U.S. or worldwide?
Worldwide.
Mostly
in the United States, though. But we do have sponsors in that, which goes a long ways to offset some costs. I mean, just to put the video on, for the live stream and that, or to make DVDs, that's a cost in itself, separate from all that on top of it.
Right.
How much did the live stream cost you?
I don't want to disclose that kind of stuff on.
Yeah.
But let me just put it this way: a lot of the people that do stuff for me do it on a voluntary basis.
Right.
And they've been doing it for like almost 20 years, since 2004. So without the volunteers, and the volunteer stuff that people help us with, we couldn't even do this,
Right.
If we had more money, we could do things well, if I had a facility, there's a lot more I could do because I can unpack everything. I got so much, I don't know, books and stuff. I'm sure you do too, Toby. Books and papers, in storage even. You just never don't have no room to get to. And that stuff needs to be all digitized.
What about merging with Aaron Murakami and his conference in Spokane, Washington?
For one, that wouldn't fly well, I don't think. Aaron has his own way of doing things.
Yeah, he's
okay.
It's kind of a different group too, I think. Yeah.
And he has his way of doing things and he puts on a good show. But like last year, he didn't do it, and I don't know if he wants to do it this year. And so, but I like to see a lot of different conferences. Those what I'd like to see, like USPA get theirs to an in-person thing again. I know they want to, but again, a lot of times it's a miracle I can even do this.
It is. What's holding the USPA back is, of course, the cost of the facility, the cost of the hotels, especially in this part of the country, around Chicago area, upper Midwest. If you pick a big city, that hotel cost is through the roof.
And I'm very fortunate to do it, the way I do it, because I'm just like hand to mouth basically. And I'm on a cash basis with everything, including the hotels and that, Yeah. And so when I walk in the door, I have to have a substantial amount of that paid already, but they know me too because I've been doing it for so long.
Right.
And then there's the unexpected stuff that happens, because sometimes your speakers cause problems for you in ways that you can't foresee. Yeah.
Being polite about it. Yeah. Well, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, Steve, I certainly respect the in-person. There's nothing that beats seeing a device and meeting people. The networking, it's not a virtual Zoom type of thing. Meeting people in person, there's nothing that can compare with that.
That's where the magic happens.
I'm just saying what APEC, APEC, what's his name, Tim?
Tim Ventura, yeah.
Tim Ventura, he's done an amazing, and that's all free. What he's done through Zoom conferences and YouTube stream. So he's got a big collaboration of people following that.
And they're all on video too, But
all zero cost.
They like my conference because they can meet people in it, And it's really hard to meet people, like even here on Steve's place. I mean, look at there's like 3 of us active in the conversation, everybody else is watching, but people would like to sit down and ask you questions directly, and that you just don't get on video, really.
Well, I just clicked on the. Sorry about that, guys.
But yeah, I think, if we ever did get to that skunk course, so that'd be the cast me out,
So Steve, you need a corporate sponsor for a place to meet. If someone could provide the facility and potentially discount the
Albuquerque
lodging.
Yeah, that sounds like what he needs.
Yeah, I can send you my vendor package, okay? Because I have sponsors in that, and I already have one, okay? But that would be kind of separate from what we're doing here with the Skunk Works, That is
completely different. Yeah. That's something about sponsoring of people that I know that could sponsor it. That's my goal. My objective is to get not just one skunkworks facility, but the resource to set up 5 or 6 throughout the U.S. and throughout the world, given redundancy and security capabilities.
Well, I know what would really be cool, though, is if we had, like in the Army, okay, we had hobby shops, and you go in there, and you can if you're into photography, they'll teach you how to do photography and how to make it happen and everything. Or if you had a car, you had auto shops, you can take your car in and work on it. They have all the tools there and everything.
Right.
And you get like a cage and that to work out of and everything. And you check out tools and stuff. Even if you had something like that where guys could come in and you had a hotel, that way they could stay for a couple of weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Cast me out.
Yeah, if you had a young inventor with a great idea, you'd have a place for him, stay, and a workshop area for him, and mentors that can help him with his idea and see if he's got something or not.
What we'd like to do is set up a fellowship where if there's a brilliant, someone that's motivated, passionate about this field, that wants to help out, wants to get involved, maybe has a good idea, maybe a POC, proof of concept, for something they want to build or the basic concepts of it, give them a fellowship. What is it? Fellowship, maybe $75,000 a year fellowship to come and spend time at the facility, at the Skunk Works lab, one of the labs, to have access to all the tools and equipment and mentors and other engineers and technicians they can talk to. So their expenses are all paid for 2 or 3 years. See what they can do.
Yeah, maybe this year, if they actually come out with that $50,000 tax credit, that might be a year just to start a whole new corporation, make it into like a nonprofit one, and that would be a good jump start. But I expect that to happen though. But anyway, I gotta get going, and
you too.
Read, okay.
You too, Steve. Toby, always. Pleasure as always.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, Steve.
And I'll see you all next week.
Good to see you after all these years.
And I think next week, I can't think of who. I know it sounded to my head. It's like a bed thing, with the plasma and everything. So pay attention.
It'll be brilliant as always, Steve.
All right.
And by the way, did you see my eye? See.
That's it. Yeah, we see it.
Did you win?
Floor one. Into floor one.
It was weird. I mean, it was a lot worse last week. I mean, the whole face was just and don't hurt. That's the thing. It doesn't hurt at all, except right above the eye right here. When you push on it a little bit. But most of it's gone now. It's just all show. But like I say, life is fragile.
Yeah.
And something like that, at my age, I'm 70 at this point. Could be a real issue.
Yep.
So anyway, I'll see you guys next week in that, and
right. Thank you.
And I'll remind everyone to sign up for the live video on demand. That really helps us out when people sign up for that. And it's a one-time, $99 is forever. And I think if that works, we're going to be doing it again next year too. So you all have a good time, a good year, and I'll see you next week.
You got it, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.